Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Massive drama in the VALORANT world yesterday, one of the craziest 24 hours that you could ever wish to see. Massively important matches that we'll dive into, but also drama hitting the timeline as well. Ton, after a difficult stint, they've decided to blow up their team. Demon1 is going to be gone from the roster. Chet, formerly working with Demon1 over at NRG, of course, decides to wade into the discussion. All kinds of hell breaks loose on the timeline as a result. Very much into your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new. I would greatly appreciate it. Let's just crack right on. We're going to start here. Can you believe it? The luck, or not exactly luck, but let's say the character arc for Edward Gaming finally ran out. It was always the case for Edward. Didn't matter what happened in region, they would always find a way still to make it through the bracket and still to win the entire thing. But it finally came to an end yesterday. Crazy to think how Edward, they really kick-started everything, this team, for their region. And now it seems that potentially other teams are learning and growing and taking over the mantle. They're still the reigning world champions, but they will not be in Toronto. They dropped down to the losers bracket. They've, of course, had some internal drama as well. We know what's happened lately with Simon, right? I mean, out of the team, all that drama behind the scenes. They were having a go at him. Simon was having a go back, and it was all happening down there. You know, Gen.G comes in, seemed to be a better fit culturally, but maybe not a better fit from a pure execution perspective, because BLG, even after losing the game one, BLG bring it back, they win the Icebox 13-8, and then they take him on the Pearl 13-11. Crazy game, super competitive. I mean, but this was the decider. This was, are you going to Toronto or are you not? And Gen.G, when it matters on the final map, it's not like Kanking at a good map here either on the Neon, but Gen.G 9 frags, 24 deaths on the Yoru. Pretty rough time of things, especially with Whoosy going 25-17. So what a game for Billy Gaming. They're going to be out there in Toronto, and Edward Gaming will not. You know, that's the first time that they've ever missed an international tournament, and it comes at a pretty difficult time with all the roster drama over the last couple of months happening as well. So can they bounce back? We'll see. You know, I'm kind of concerned just because Kangang himself was even talking about the fact that it's, you know, he intends to compete for some while longer, but the pressures and the stresses and the difficulties have been getting to him to some extent. And I mean, look, the champ's curse is a thing. You win the world championship, it's just so challenging to actually execute on that level again. Shame that Kangang won't be competing, therefore, in Toronto, but, you know, maybe this is the changing of the guard to some degree in the region, and other teams are going to start taking over and really proving to be a serious force. This is what's happening in the Pacific. This game is currently ongoing. We're on the ascent. It's actually 8-8, all tied up here on the final map here. Of course, Nongshim are going to be the favourites, I guess, in this point, because Ascent in the defensive side usually tends to be pretty strong. But, yeah, Talon, they won the game 13-9. They bounced back on the Pearl Nongshim 13-7. Look, are either of these teams going to make it to Toronto? Probably not. The winner of that plays DRX, but still, that game's currently ongoing, and of course, shortly afterwards, we then have this game, which is due to start relatively shortly, T1 Paper X, so of course, we're going to talk about that in some detail. EMEA finally finished, like the regular season matches finally ended. Heretics got the win against Fnatic, pretty impressive actually, 13-10 and then 13-5 in the end, dominated them on the Haven. So, yeah, Heretics been looking real good. I know that, of course, Fnatic, Boaster was giving his perspective and saying that these PCs are too good. Now, look, for either team, it doesn't really matter, but, you know, I have thought for a little bit of time now, Heretics have really leveled up their play. They started the season a bit shaky, but since then, if you look at their recent games, since the kickoff, really, I mean, they've just got better and better in, like, every series they've played, and a 2-0 against Fnatic, certainly an impressive one. That was a statement series. So, the other game happened as well. We did get to see Liquid beat KC in the end. It was pretty remarkable, right, because, of course, they didn't end up playing the split again. That ended up 13-6. Icebox was then KC's. They won it 13-9. But then on the Lotus, Liquid took a fair and justified and deserved victory. So they advanced through. They secured the #1 seed. And that means the playoffs look like this. They'll be getting underway in a few days' time now. So they're taking a bit of a rest before they get everything sorted. And, you know, to get used to the PCs and all that. But it is interesting. So Heretics have a bye. If they can beat either BBL or Na'Vi, they will be at Toronto. The same applies for Liquid, Fnatic, and for esports, pretty interesting. And then Vitality and KC. I mean, Vitality ending up as the 4th seed after such a promising start. That's tough. They're going to need 3 series wins if they want to make it through. Definitely an uphill battle from there. Let's talk about the Americas, though, because drama everywhere last night, and we are going to start here. So, NRG, they get rid of Mike's. Now, it's been an absolute mess at NRG. I mean, you got to think. Chet, Bonkar, Mike's all gone in the matter of not even that many months. And as they say, though our time together was short, we thank you for your contributions and wish you the best in your future endeavours. So Mike's is out of there. Now, look, how do we read into this? I think we have to start by reading Mike's response, because he's been fired, basically. Why has he been fired? Why has he been let go? Well, maybe let's read between the lines a little bit. As of today, I will no longer be a part of the NRG roster. Unfortunately, due to differences in opinion on the future of the team, it has been decided that we part ways. Well, this has been one of my most challenging, I mean, it's pretty funny, isn't it? This has been one of the most challenging experiences I have had at esports. Still grateful for the opportunity and for the players, open to offers, please reach out. And, and he also says, and I hope that he's not writing a self-fulfilling prophecy here, because, like, as he says, I'm also facing the solemn reality that it's maybe my last major esports opportunity, because I think he probably expects not to get, not to walk into another tier 1 team. But, I think when you say this in your statement, it kind of makes people think, you think you're never going to get a chance again? I guess, because if I'm another team reading this, I'm like, and he doesn't think he's going to get another shot. Maybe he's not that good. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you guys agree with that. But, wish Mike's the best. Seems like a really sound guy. But what's happened in NRG, I mean, he calls it one of his most challenging experiences in esports. He's not been there very long, and he says he had differences in opinion on the future of the team. Now, the drama with Bonkar a while ago was that Bonkar came in as the coach with Verno and was clearly in favour of Verno staying. That was evident enough. Verno got kicked. Bonkar then, was also benched basically as a coach because of that drama. Mike's then comes in, and clearly he also has a different opinion on the way that the team should go. And it doesn't reflect well on FNS, let's be honest, right? I mean, maybe it's not even just FNS. Maybe it's that whole core, that FNS, Ethan, Som core. Because, are they delivering results on the server? No, nowhere near it. But it feels like if there's a coach, because clearly Bonkar, not clearly, but it seems anyway, that if Bonkar had to choose to say, look, should FNS stay? Should Verno stay? It was pretty clear what his perception was. That ended in only one way. So there's definitely a perception right now from the community that FNS is, or that core 3 maybe, they're calling the shots and they're axing everyone that wants to move in a different direction. And NRG are happy to say, well, what can we really do? If those 3, let's say hypothetically, NRG, FNS, Som and Ethan are like a trio and they refuse to not play without one another, and then what do you do if you're NRG? Do you say, no, we're going to keep this coach and blow you guys out of the water and we're going to sign some new players? That might be the necessary thing to do in the medium term. But for now, they're not going to do that. And if Mike's has differences of opinion on the future of the team, which probably means we should make some changes, then the team disagrees with the changes, and then Mike's has all of a sudden been dropped, it probably tells you something about what is happening there behind the scenes. The big drama, though, was this. So yesterday, there were rumours that Demon1 set to be removed from Lev. Now, clearly, Leviathan, they've been struggling massively. They've not had the season that they wanted so far. But in terms of changes to make, this was not necessarily expected to be top of the agenda. And then when they actually confirmed what they're going to do, as they confirm in the announcement right about here, Demon1 and Rossi are going to go. So Rossi hasn't been dropped, but it's basically the same thing, right? So Demon1 will be transferred to the reserve bench, and while still under contract is eligible to explore opportunities. Rossi, still under contract, is also eligible to consider offers for his future. So these fellas, Demon1 and Rossi, look like they're going to be gone from the team. Now, changes were inevitable, but again, the way that things have changed is pretty remarkable, to say the least. Demon1 confirms looking for a team. People were pretty shocked by this. I'm not so shocked by this, to be honest. We've seen this before. Demon1's been on rosters that haven't gone to plan. And look, whatever you think about Demon1, the amazing talent that he is and still is and has been for several years, he's not had a full season, potentially for a good reason. I think there is evidence to suggest that Demon1 might not be the easiest teammate to work with, right? I think there's been a perception of that, let's say, for some time. Should they have dropped him? Not so sure they should have done, but am I surprised? Not really, given the way things are. And also Lev, they've got this feeling of, well, you know, they want to, let's say, support their fan base, and they want to make sure that they are appeasing their fan base and making decisions that, let's just say, when they brought in Curry as the content creator, lots of the fans were saying, hang on a second, feels a bit out of touch with the fan base that you're trying to cultivate down in South America. But what followed to this Demon1 situation was remarkable, right? So this comes out from Chet. So Chet, of course, formerly NRG, formerly of many different teams. And look, he is not afraid of just tweeting something, right? He will just give his opinion. And I find it remarkable that he will just do this, because there'll be many people that look at this and say, well, what really is the point airing out this beef? Does it make you look better? No, not really. So I think for both sides, this is pretty remarkable. I just find it entertaining. Chet's always been like this. Like, this isn't a new thing for Chet. You might argue it's damaging his own reputation, but it's not like this is a new thing. So anyway, Chet tweets this out. People can blame Itopata, the kind of coach decision maker over there at Lev, all they want, but your GOAT, meaning Demon1, has slept during practice multiple times for 2 years in a row. So basically Chet says, yeah, Demon1's been dropped for a good reason. The guy isn't a good teammate. Then Demon1 says, never had any issues with you or said anything bad, but I wish you all the best. So Demon1's kind of saying, look, yeah, you're clowning me on timeline for no reason, but you know, no drama from this end. And then Chet responds, because clearly Chet didn't just tweet this for no reason, right? He tweeted this because he wanted a bit of a get back, and that's what he then replies with. Plenty of people have come to me without asking, saying that you're talking negatively about me to others. So, you know, then he says, well, screw it. If Demon1's going to be going behind my back talking to people, which apparently he is doing according to Chet, but who really knows, then Chet's going to do the same thing to Demon1, but he's going to air it out big time on the timeline. So, look, this is the type of stuff that typically in esports will stay behind closed doors. But when Chet's involved, this is coming out publicly. And whether it looks good, I mean, look, it doesn't look good for anyone, does it really? And I think for Chet, as much as I find this entertaining, it's not really something that would make me massively want to have him as part of my team, right? Because even as Angel says, to 12,000 likes, good example of how to ruin your career. Everyone who works at Tier 1 has a lot of stories to share. Most of them would be affected by the storyteller perception. But the question is, would you work with a guy who's ready to tweet out something like this? So, you know, I get it. I see both sides. At the end of the day, I'm here for the entertainment. But, look, I don't think this situation ends looking particularly good on anyone, to be perfectly honest. And the decision that will happen next, I guess, will tell what they eventually decide to do. Let's finalize with what happened in the Americas, because some massive games last night. Huge frustration, of course, for Evil Geniuses. Sentinels, though, wow. I mean, their victory against MIBR was just insanely impressive. Zekken was so much fun to watch yesterday. And yeah, when he's playing like this, there really is just not much you're going to be able to do. But Sentinels are looking real strong. I mean, MIBR, I thought this series was going to be like incredibly competitive. And to be honest, it wasn't really. Sentinels just handled business. 13-7, 13-11 in the end on the split. You know, we know that Sen are good at split. They pick the map. They eventually get over the line. Like, MIBR, not the series they would have wanted. It's okay. Like, they're still going to be there in Toronto. They've got another series coming up to see if they can rematch Sen in the finals. But yeah, the progress that Sen have made has been really impressive to see. And Zels has had 14 kills, but he was absolutely loving life over the series because they still got the victory. Everybody else absolutely turned up in that. And that guarantees their passage to the Esports World Cup as well, being top 2 in the region guaranteed, which is a good result for them. And then we had the G2 versus EG series. And look, I think G2 were always expected to win this one, and they did, but the manner in which they did was just so painful for EG. And, you know, like, fair play to Ye and the team for delivering a good show here, but this was the moment, right? 11-11, Ye gets a frag, Icy gets a frag, 4 versus 2. Ye thinks he can capture timing with the shorty, with the plants, but, you know, it doesn't work out. He goes down, they lose the rounds, and they lose 13-11. Absolutely heartbreaking. And, yeah, as Derek says, heartbroken. I had the game in my hands multiple times, but eventually it didn't work. VALORANT was very emotional after the series. They got the 2-1 win. So the plot armor for these guys, you know, continues, and they will be there in Toronto with a chance to go one better than they've done so far. So, look, I can't say G2 didn't deserve it. I think they did, right? They played incredibly well, but the manner that EG lost was just so painful, right? And, you know, this was the series to make it back to a Masters tournament. And yeah, he really tried his best, but that moment on the Pearl, I mean, there was a few moments, but certainly that moment on the Pearl will live long in the memory. A G2 playing well enough to potentially win Toronto, not on this current evidence, but look, a long road is still ahead of them, but lots to talk about, I'm sure, going forwards. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.